What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and today we're going to be talking about a drug that I used to absolutely hate, and now I have grown to really love, and that is Nandrolone. I have made a number of videos and talked quite a bit in the comments in the past about how I did not like Nandrolone. When we're talking about Nandrolone, we're talking about Nandrolone. The ester is irrelevant. So whether you're running NPP or DECA, the effects are the same. I know some people seem to think that this is not true. They're fucking wrong. Nandrolone is Nandrolone. So the ester that's attached to it is only going to change its bioavailability. Well, not its bioavailability. Its duration of how long it stays in your body. As I tried to explain in one of my other videos that I cannot think of the title right now. Both of the drugs are going to peak in serum concentration the same post-injection at the same time. So again, DECA, for example, is a long-acting ester. It is not a slow-acting ester. When you inject Nandrolone decanoate, the peak that you're going to get from that injection is going to be at about the 24-hour mark, and then it's going to take a very long time for it to fall off below baseline. So one of the common misconceptions about Nandrolone decanoate is that it is a slow-acting drug. This is absolutely not true. It does take longer, obviously, if you're using Nandrolone decanoate for you to reach peak serum concentration. But let's remember that peak serum concentration is peak trough concentration. So if your objective is to get to 200 milligrams of Nandrolone in your system to the point where you never drop below 200 milligrams of Nandrolone, which is always the goal when we pick a dose. When we pick a dose of an androgen, if, for example, when I say I'm running 500 milligrams of test C a week, that's not the maximum amount that's in my system. That's the minimum amount that's in my system. So that's what we call peak serum concentration, when the minimum amount of the drug in your system becomes stabilized. Obviously, every time you pin the drug, you're actually going above normal and then falling back down. So if you're using NPP, which is really not, a lot of people seem to think that's a short ester. It's really not that short. I think it's 3.5 to 5 days. So it's certainly not an acetate. One of the other things I would like to point out while I'm making this video is that I'm going to be at times looking to the screen to my left, which has the Wikipedia on it. I did this during the making of one of my other videos talking about, I think it was Masteron, and somebody got in the comments and was like, well, dude, you're just basically reading from Wikipedia. Yeah, yeah, sometimes. Did you think that I was a fucking psychic? That I was just born knowing everything there was to know about Nandrolone or Masteron? How the fuck do you people think that I know the things that I know about the drugs that I take? I know what I know about the drugs that I take because I research them. So every single thing that I tell you on this channel, outside of my own personal anecdotal experiences, you could learn for yourself by fucking doing research online. But that's not the day and age that we live in, is it? You guys would rather me read the Wikipedia and then distill it into an entertaining video that you can listen to while you're running on the treadmill or you're driving home from work or whatever. That's the culture that we live in. But the data still comes from somewhere. So I'm going to refer to the wiki to make sure that I have all of the accurate information. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with some of you tards in the audience. Well, you're just reading from a research paper. Yeah, no shit, dumbass. Where the fuck else would I get this data? So, mini trend rant. You know what? I guess I should also point out, when I use the term trend rant on my channel, that doesn't actually mean that I'm on trend. Trend rant is just like one of my little phrases that I use in a series of videos. It's just what I title my trend rants. My rants. There was a guy in the fucking comment section of my video yesterday that was titled Trend Rant, Don't Worship Your Codependent Dog. He's like, oh my God, this guy's been lying to us. He said he wasn't on trend, and now he's making a trend rant video. Come on, bro. It's just the title of my fucking videos. People click, they want to see the next trend rant. So whether I'm on trend or not, if I'm ranting about a topic, it's going to be called trend rant and then the fucking topic. It's just my little catchphrase. So mini trend rant aside, with little to no trends still left in my system. I'm not taking trends, so all of you guys who are very concerned about my liver, I just went and got more blood pulled. So we'll find out in 24 to 48 hours how close to death I am. I'm currently not injecting any trend. Everybody calm the fuck down. What I am currently using, however, is Nandrolone. The reason that I think that I had such a bad experience, well, it was kind of a love-hate experience with Nandrolone the first couple times I tried to run it. The first cycle, full cycle that I ever ran on Nandrolone actually went phenomenal. I have a video that's got nearly 80,000 views on my channel. You can look it up. It's I think it's titled what it feels like to run Deca or something, or Deca D-ball. I can't even remember. It's one of the top videos of my channel, and I talked all about the test and Deca cycle that I did sort of early on. It was one of the first cycles that I did when I started running steroids. I had read all of the classic things about Nandrolone, that it turns you into a water buffalo, that you're gonna have this giant moon face, that you're gonna put on a lot of sloppy weight. And when I started running Deca, I almost thought my shit was fake, because if you look at that video, I took progress photos from the beginning to end, and what you will see is exponential muscle growth. And I never lost my abs during the entire fucking bulk. It was one of the best bulks I ever had. I never turned into a water balloon, and I had otherwise really good results from the drug. I now know that to be because I'm not one of the idiots who subscribes to the idea that it's okay to have estrogen levels outside the top end of the reference range. So I managed my estrogen very closely during the entire cycle, and I stayed very dry, surprisingly, on this quote-unquote wet compound. This most recent time when I was running it again, I was still staying, well, I was dry. I wasn't as dry as the first time I ran it, but there was some other factors involved there. So the first time I ever ran Nandrolone, I had phenomenal gains in strength and muscle mass in the gym. The reason that I shit-talked the drug so much was because psychologically it made me feel really bad. I had strange, weird depression. I had the Decadic. I had, it just was not at all a feel-good compound. I stayed on it for quite a while just because the gains that I was experiencing were so phenomenal, but I really felt like shit the entire time that I ran the drug. And so I fell prey to the bodybuilding community and read some different things, and you know, I saw on different forums people would say, oh, MPP is way better than Deca. You know, I handled it so much better. I had fewer side effects. And so I bought MPP, tried that, and felt exactly I felt the exact same way on the MPP that I did on the Deca. It's only that I started feeling shittier faster on the MPP because it was a faster acting, it's a shorter ester. And so at that point I had basically sworn off Nandrolone. Because I didn't feel good on it. And the reason that I didn't feel good on it was because I didn't understand the nature of the molecule. So for starters, Nandrolone is 19-nor-testosterone, so it's one of the 19-nor derivatives. And it is substantially more anabolic than it is androgenic. The reason for it being less androgenic is because when Nandrolone interacts with 5-alpha reductase, it is converted into 5-dihydronandrolone, which is substantially less androgenic than DHT. One of the things that makes testosterone more androgenic than Nandrolone is that testosterone 5-alpha reduces into DHT, which is one of the most androgenic, if not the most androgenic compounds known to man. So you've got the anabolic side of the hormone, and then when it 5-alpha reduces, it 5-alpha reduces to something that binds with a very weak affinity, and so it is therefore less androgenic. This makes it somewhat female safe. This is a drug that I am probably at some point going to trial with my wife. She is at the end of a 16-week premenopausal cycle. She's had phenomenal results, but like me, she struggles quite a bit with joint pain, and so I think we're going to try adding a small amount, very small, like 5 milligrams, small amount of Nandrolone to see if we can't get some joint relief without causing too much virilization. So so Nandrolone does 5-alpha reduce, but at 5-alpha reduces to the weaker 5-alpha dihydronandrolone. And Nandrolone also aromatizes. Now, it aromatizes at a substantially lesser rate. I don't know if the wiki will tell us the rate of aromatization. Let's see. Pharmacokinetics. Nandrolone has a very low affinity for SHBG. It has about 5% of that of testosterone and 1% of that of DHT. It is metabolized by the enzyme 5-alpha reductase, like I just explained. And so, where do we get? I should have looked this up earlier. I don't know the rate at which it converts to estrogen. I can tell you from my own personal experience that it is substantially lower conversion than testosterone. So when I started Nandrolone, one of the things that made me nervous about starting it was that I have a lot of fucking problems managing my estrogen. And so I did not want to risk throwing all of that out of whack. And so I was nervous to start the Nandrolone at all. What I found is that while I did have to increase my Arimidex dose, I only had to increase it, I think, 0.5 milligram to offset the 200 milligrams of Nandrolone that I was running. So let me see. I thought I just noticed something. Okay, that's something else. So we do have activation with the aromatase enzyme, and we also have a drug that is progestogenic in nature. So Nandrolone will bind to the progesterone receiver, but it only binds with 22% of the binding affinity of progesterone itself. And so this is the real kind of reveal moment, for lack of a better term, in this video. The reason that I did not like Nandrolone is because I did not understand its progestogenic effects. My body, for sure, I don't want to make a blanket statement. I would love to make a blanket statement because I do think it's the vast majority of people. For me, all of the negative side effects that come from Nandrolone come from its activation of the progesterone receiver. And so every time I ran Nandrolone in the past, whether it be DECA or MPP, I did not do anything to combat prolactin. I believe that was still at a period of time where I didn't understand that activation of the progesterone receiver does not necessarily lead to a higher level of progesterone on your blood work. But it does. But activation of the receiver will trigger the release of prolactin. And so when you're dealing with a 19-nor drug, what you really want to look at is your prolactin level and not your progesterone level. That's one of the things that can fool you. You can get your progesterone level checked and it can look totally normal, and you still have gyno and side effects, and you don't know why, and it's because the side effects are being caused by prolactin. So the depression, the gyno that I was experiencing, all of the negative psychological effects that I was attributing to the Nandrolone were actually coming from the prolactin that was causing to release. The way I ultimately solved this problem or figured this out is because I switched from Nandrolone to Trenbolone. And Trenbolone has a binding affinity to the progesterone receiver higher than progesterone. Trenbolone is very progestogenic. And so where I was able to run Nandrolone for a long period of time, and I just felt kind of shitty, I didn't feel good, I felt a little off, I had a little bit more gyno than usual. It wasn't so much prolactin that it was unbearable, that I was having massive gyno or massive psychological problems. I just didn't feel good on it. And so I remember having multiple conversations with my wife saying, I don't know, man. I don't think my body tolerates 19 NOR drugs very well. And this is something that you'll hear very commonly talked about in the bodybuilding community, that 19 NOR drugs are harsh, that a lot of people don't like 19 NOR drugs, that 19 NOR drugs are harder on your system. I believe that the vast majority of this comes from the fact that people massively underestimate just how bad prolactin can make you feel. It is also proposed that Nandrolone can lead to left ventricular hypertrophy. Again, I have run 19 NOR compounds in large quantities for years and years and years, and when I just had my heart scanned, there were no signs of changes. My heart was totally normal size and normal functioning. Does that mean that it can never cause LVH? Does that mean that 10 years down the road some signs and symptoms might not rear their ugly head? No, it doesn't. I think the vast majority of things like that have more to do with your genetics than they do the drug themselves, and they also obviously have a lot to do with the dose, the total dosage you're running and duration of exposure. So those are the reasons that I hated Nandrolone to begin with. When I decided to give Nandrolone a second try, the reason that I did that was for the express purpose of trying to explore for myself what it was like to run 219 NOR compounds, which some people in the bodybuilding community will just tell you is the absolute worst thing you can do. If you do research of your own, if you look at Reddit, if you look at various forums, and you look at the stories that some people will tell about what happened to them when they combined, for example, Trenbolone and Nandrolone, you can read one fucking crazy horror story after the other, causing massive OCD, people feeling miserable. There's tons of stories of people having really negative side effects to combining 219 NOR drugs. One of the funny things to me when you read through all those negative stories is the story will be like, I ran Tren and Nandrolone. I was stronger and bigger than I've ever fucking been. My gym performance was out of control, but I felt like a total fucking dumpster fire, or I had massive anxiety, or so they preface by saying, from a bodybuilding context, I was loving every second of it, but it was fucking my life up otherwise. And so when I read shit like that, I'm like, like, okay, I want the first part. I don't want the second part. Let's see if there's a way that we can get the goods without the bads. That's what I'm doing in every one of my cycles, is how can I get the maximum benefit with the least amount of cost. And so when I finally went back to the Nandrolone compound and used it in conjunction with Trenbolone, I was running 200 milligrams of Nandrolone decanoate along with 125 milligrams of Trenbolone E, and I had fucking phenomenal results. Now again, the only reason I had such good results with, by the way, absolutely zero negative side effects was because I was using 1 milligram to 1.25 milligrams of cabergoline per week. So when you have Tren in your system, you have a drug that is binding with a higher binding affinity than progesterone itself. Okay, so you're going to be activating the progesterone receiver in a remarkable way. Then you add Nandrolone to the mix, and it's gonna bind with a 22% efficiency. So you've got 200 milligrams of Nandrolone that are trying to bind at that rate to the progesterone receiver. So you are definitely going to increase your prolactin some. In my experience, just like with the aromatase, just like with the fact that it only minorly increased my estrogen, it only minorly increased my prolactin. Hang on, I want to confirm something that I'm saying before I get caught lying. Yeah. For a second, I thought, wait a minute, did I just bullshit everyone on this video and tell people that it aromatizes? Nandrolone and other members of the 19 norandrogen families have been shown to undergo aromatase-mediated conversion to estrogen in animal models. Nandrolone itself shows a significant binding affinity and full agonist activity with the alpha estrogen receptor. Just want to make sure that I was not going to get fact-checked in the comment section. So, where was I at? So if you're going to run Nandrolone, in my opinion, when I ran Nandrolone the first time, I ran it 300 milligrams per week. So again, at 300 milligrams per week, I was able to survive the cycle without using Caber. But I was miserable for the vast majority of it. One of the things that I did during my original Nandrolone cycle that was recommended to offset some of the negative side effects was that I ran Proviron at up to 75 milligrams per day during that cycle. That was the first time that I ever ran Proviron. Proviron mixed with Nandrolone is probably what saved that cycle, because the decadic was really severe and it was really hammering my libido. And when I put the Proviron in, I was hornier than I have ever been in life for about a 2-week period. That was the first and only time that I was able to get that acute of a response from the Proviron. So I also, at this point, I'm not doing it now due to my liver injury, but I would typically also run Proviron alongside my 19 Nors. So the purpose of this video was to give you a little bit of information about Nandrolone, but also to describe why it is that in the past I really hated and shit-talked this drug and swore that I was never going to use it again. And now, flash forward, a few years into the future, and Nandrolone will probably be a staple in my cycle permanently. I may at some point decide to come off, but the reason for that is because the final thing that there's a couple things I guess I should mention. So Nandrolone being very low on the androgenic scale means it is a decidedly more hair safe hormone. For those of you who care about that, I do not care about that at all. At all. So Derek is the guy to talk to about hair. He apparently has a relationship with his hair that I think is borderlines on the fucking insane. The levels that he goes to try to save that god awful looking fucking hair he has is just unbelievable to me. I'm assuming he must have just an incredibly ugly head. I could give two shits about my hair, but they say that Nandrolone is very hair safe. Although one thing to keep in mind, one of the things that makes it hair safe is that it 5-alpha reduces to 5-alpha dihydronandrolone. According to the wiki information, if you use whatever the hair drugs are, finasteride, dutasteride, they will undo the hair safe part of the Nandrolone molecule. So you do not apparently want to run finasteride, dutasteride alongside Nandrolone because you want it to 5-alpha reduce. If you block Nandrolone from reducing to its weaker metabolite, then you end up actually getting more androgenicity in your body than you would if you allowed it to reduce. So in the case of Nandrolone, this is a drug where you actually want it to reduce. The other thing that makes Nandrolone an absolute classic hormone, the hallmark of so many amazing cycles, is that it is, in my opinion, absolutely fucking second to none in joint support. And the really, really amazing thing about Nandrolone is that you can get the full effects of the joint support at a very small dose. For example, I'm only running 200 milligrams a week, and my joints are night and fucking day different than when I was off of the Nandrolone. And I talked about this in a different video, but since we're talking about Nandrolone, before I started Nandrolone, every single one of my joints was a major limiting factor for me, especially my elbows. But one of the weirdest things that I've noticed that is like the most telltale sign of like a before and after experience. Before I started Nandrolone, if I put my hand on my shoulder right here and lifted my shoulder joint and rotated it, you could hear and feel clicking and clacking and cracking and popping through this entire movement right here. I could feel like the ball in the socket rubbing on something. There would be, it would not move fluidly like this where I can move it nice and smooth. It would kind of pop and clack along the way, and I could just do it indefinitely. I had so many shoulder problems before I started Nandrolone, and at 200 milligrams a week, well, I mean, I'm talking two weeks into my cycle of 200 milligrams of Nandrolone, and I was already getting the joint relief. So like I said, I can rotate my shoulder joint all day long, and there is absolutely no sounds, no resistance, no popping, no pain at all. My elbows feel phenomenal. My legs feel phenomenal. Every joint in my body, it is literally like taking 30 years off your life. And that is the reason why I cannot imagine ever taking it out of my cycle. So what else can I tell you? Definitely monitor your stay on top of your prolactin, stay on top of your estrogen management, and you will be able to get lean, dry gains on this drug. I promise you. I have done it 2 or 3 times now. One of the things that 19 Nor drugs seem to do in me, and this is something that I'm struggling with right now after being in the hospital, is they seem to have somewhat of a negative effect on my appetite. Trenbolone is far worse than the Nandrolone, but I have a whole gut protocol that I'm doing right now, which seems to be offsetting a lot of that. I don't know if it's a stomach acid thing or what. I take Nexium every day and some other supplements to try to keep my stomach acids in line. And so I've actually been eating very good recently, although apparently not enough to get into a surplus because I'm still not gaining weight after being out of the hospital. So like I said, I just want to come on here and make this video, talk a little bit about Nandrolone, and explain for those of you, if you are like me and you've run it in the past and you think it's a terrible drug and you had nothing but bad experiences, I highly recommend you giving it a try again and adding cabergoline to your cycle. If you keep your prolactin in check, this is without a doubt one of the best hormones that I have ever run. If you look at the videos that I was posting before I got sick, before I got hospitalized, my body was absolutely fucking morphing in the presence of Nandrolone and Trenbolone. I have never in my lifetime been as full as I was on that combination of drugs. It's what helped me get to 214 pounds, and I am fiending like a crackhead to get back to that body weight, to get back to that aesthetic. I think it is the best that I have ever looked, despite the fact that I was slightly more bloated due to the fact that I was bulking very hard and eating a tremendous amount of carbs. A lot of you talked back then about my moon face. I cannot stand looking at my face right now. These holes, the way my jaws cave in right there, I cannot wait to get that fucking moon face back. I hate this cancer patient fucking look that I've got going. So I am debating right now on whether to add the MK677 back into the mix. I've tried the GHRP6. I really do not like it. It seems to cause a little nausea in me or something. I really miss everything about the MK, and I'm just scared because I don't know. I'm just scared of it because my liver is so fucked up, and I'm trying to keep the things that I'm using to a minimum, but we'll have to see how it goes. So there you have it. Not a whole lot more to say. Again, Yes, all of this data can be found online. The vast majority of everything that there is to learn from me, you can find online if you want to do your own fucking research. All I can really offer above and beyond that is my own anecdotal experiences, which was the point of making this video, to describe the massive gulf between the first couple of times I ran this drug and this last time. I am currently on it now at 200 milligrams, and I can't wait to get back to full calories, full blast. And hopefully the results of my liver test will come back good. I'm afraid they're going to be worse, but it's a process and we just have to stick through it. So as always, thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.